When you start your corporate accounting studies, you will hear acronyms and names which might at first be quite confusing. The aim of this short video series is to explain some of the most common terminology you will encounter during your studies. In this first video, we'll have a look at some of the regulators in the Australian financial environment. Responsibility for the regulation and supervision of the Australian financial system is vested in 4 separate agencies. The Australian Prudential Regulation Authority is the prudential regulator of banks, insurance companies and superannuation funds, credit unions and other financial societies. The Australian Securities and Investments Commission is an independent government body that regulates corporates, markets, and financial services. They enforce and administer, amongst other legislation, the Corporations Act, and aim to reduce fraud and unfair practices in financial markets and financial products, ensuring consumers can use it with confidence and companies and markets perform effectively. Thirdly, there's the Reserve Bank of Australia. And lastly, the Australian Treasury. These 4 bodies comprise the Council of Financial Regulators. There are, however, a number of regulator bodies with whom businesses in Australia come into contact regularly. Apart from ASIC and APRA, there are also the Accounting and Assurance Standards Board, an independent statutory agency responsible for developing standards and guidance for auditors and providers of other assurance services. The Australian Accounting Standards Board is responsible for developing accounting standards for the private, public and not-for-profit sectors and participates in the formulation of international accounting standards. It's subject to broad oversight by the Financial Reporting Council. The Financial Reporting Panel exists to resolve disputes between ASIC and companies concerning the application of accounting standards. Then there's also the Australian Taxation Office. ATO is the statutory authority responsible for collecting revenue for the Australian government in the form of taxation. The ASX is the stock exchange where companies can list their shares. It's currently on one of the world's top 10 listed exchange groups based on market capitalization. A stock exchange is a form of exchange where stockbrokers and traders can trade shares and other instruments. Companies normally list on a securities exchange to raise capital and to create a market for their shares, though that's not the only reasons for listing.